Peer review is built on trust. Reviewers are given access to unpublished research, work that is confidential, sometimes commercially sensitive, and always personally important to the researchers who submitted it. That access comes with obligations. This is video 22 of the Peer Review Mastery series from Zenith Publications. Today, reviewer ethics, conflicts of interest, confidentiality, and timeliness. The peer review system depends on three assumptions being true simultaneously. The manuscript is treated as confidential. The reviewer is genuinely independent from the authors. The review is delivered when promised. When any of these assumptions breaks down, the system fails, not just for the individual journal, but for the scientific record. Reviewers who violate confidentiality, conceal conflicts, or fail to respond cause direct harm to the authors waiting for a decision and to the field that relies on timely, trustworthy publication. A conflict of interest is any relationship or circumstance that might compromise, or appear to compromise, the independence of a peer review. 4 categories cover most situations. Personal conflicts. The reviewer knows the authors as a colleague, collaborator, mentor, student, or personal friend. The closeness of the relationship determines the severity. Financial conflicts. The reviewer has a financial interest in the research, employment by the sponsoring company, a competing grant application, or commercial interest in the technology being evaluated. Professional conflicts. The reviewer is working on the same research question, competing for the same funding, or has a recent history of public disagreement with the authors. Institutional conflicts. The reviewer and authors share the same department, organization, or small research network where independence cannot be assumed. The response to a conflict of interest is the same in every case, and it has 3 steps. First, identify. Does any of the conflict categories apply to this submission? This assessment must happen before reading the manuscript. Second, declare. Contact the editor immediately. Explain the nature of the conflict. Editors handle these disclosures routinely. The process is designed for it. Third, follow the editor's guidance. The editor will decide whether the conflict is disqualifying, whether proceeding with full disclosure is acceptable, or whether the review should be transferred. That decision belongs to the editor. The principle that applies in every ambiguous case: when in doubt, declare it. Editors would rather know. Accepting a peer review invitation creates 5 specific confidentiality obligations. The manuscript must not be shared with colleagues, including research assistants or students, without the editor's explicit permission. The ideas, methods, and data in the manuscript cannot be used in the reviewer's own work before the paper is published. This prohibition applies regardless of whether the reviewer ultimately recommends acceptance or rejection. The paper cannot be cited until it appears in print. A reviewer who cites an unpublished manuscript has breached the confidentiality of the process. The manuscript should be treated the same way a researcher would treat their own pre-submission work, protected from outside access until publication. And the review itself is confidential in most systems, including in open peer review formats, unless the journal has explicitly specified otherwise. The cost of a late peer review is direct. Authors cannot revise, respond to funders, or submit elsewhere. Editors cannot make publication decisions. Other reviewers who submitted on time are wasted while the editor waits. Before accepting a review, the deadline must be checked honestly against current commitments. Not optimistically, honestly. After accepting, if circumstances change, the editor must be contacted immediately. Not at the deadline, immediately when the problem becomes apparent. At the deadline, a reviewer should submit what is ready or request a short extension with a specific date. A partial review is almost always more useful to the editor than silence. Declining early is always more professional than accepting and delivering late. 4 situations where declining is the right call. An undisclosed conflict of interest exists from any of the categories covered earlier. The paper falls outside specific expertise, not the general field, but the particular methods or subject matter required to evaluate it properly. The deadline cannot honestly be met. Or the reviewer has already assessed the same manuscript for another journal. Duplicate review is prohibited by most journals and must be declared. Declining within 48 hours of receiving the invitation is a professional act. It allows the editor to find a replacement and keeps the process moving. Declining after 2 weeks, or not responding at all, harms everyone in the process. 3 principles. Declare every conflict before reading the manuscript. Protect the manuscript. It is unpublished and confidential. Respond on time, and if circumstances change, respond immediately. These are not bureaucratic obligations. They are the minimum conditions under which the peer review system can function with integrity. Video 23 covers how to critically read a manuscript, what to look for, section by section, before writing a single word of the review. Subscribe at youtube.com/@Zenith Publications and visit zenithpublications.com for all published journals and submission guidelines.